Hello and welcome to my POLS 206 project. I'm Rima Shavasi. So the goal of this project is to basically describe what's happening in this chart on the right. The title of this chart is Where Have There Been Female Governors? And its purpose is to count the female governors in each state since the founding of the US by party. Note that it also includes women that were either elected or held government positions by succession. So let's start off by describing everything that we see in this chart. So the small boxes represent each state. The blue dots represent the number of female Democrats. Meanwhile, the red dots represent the number of female Republicans. And whenever these dots are placed into the boxes, basically that tells you like how many female governors of each type were in that state. So it's a count, right? And then at the bottom, we have a total count of the number of female Democrats and Republicans. For Democrats, it's 26. For Republicans, it's 18. And also to summarize all of the information that was given in this chart, I just put them into tables. So the boxes that were blurred out show you that they don't have any female governors. And I've placed them over here, and that shows us that we have 20 states where there has never been female governors since the founding of the US. Also, the states that have had one female governor, whether a Democrat or a Republican, were placed over here, and we have a total of 18. Meanwhile, the states that have had two or more female governors are 10 in total. So this really puts things into perspective because we're realizing that we have more states that have never had female governors. Also, one thing you'll notice about this chart is that it's very general and undetailed, so it doesn't really have any numbers besides the total count at the bottom. This gives you the idea that the focus isn't really on the numbers, because otherwise we would have a line graph or something, right? Rather, the goal is to make a general comparison of the states that are more likely to have women in government positions. But then an important question is, what's the point of this comparison? Is the chart trying to emphasize something? Well, okay, based on the chart setup and how it looks, I would say that it's trying to put emphasis on how very little the number of female governors has been. And also, let's take a moment to think about this. If we were to reverse the roles and say that, okay, this chart represents the number of male governors, then you would have so many dots placed into each box, right? It would reach a point where the chart becomes almost unreadable. It would become confusing and just inefficient, right? But since it's about female governors and there has been very few of them, then this graph is very clear. It's very coherent. It serves its purpose, right? Also, the numbers at the bottom over here show us that there's a total of only 44 female governors, which is very little, especially considering how this is since the US was founded. So we're talking about almost 250 years. Also, without much background information, this visual representation of each state might not seem very relevant. Like you might look at this chart and think, oh, okay, so there haven't been many female governors over the years. But if it were that simple, then why would they show you each seat and also specify if the governors were Democrats or Republicans? So this is where context becomes important. So on the left, I just summarized everything that was written underneath the chart. Like there was a small description and I just summarized it. So this information provides the context that the chart lacked. And I think that we need this kind of context for other states as well, so that we're better able to tell if females have a decent representation in the government in each state or not, because that's something that we cannot tell just by looking at the graph alone, you know? And also, if we were to look at Vermont on the chart, like without any context, we would think, oh, okay, it doesn't have that bad of a representation, you know, like at least it had one female Democrat in the past, right? But then the context tells us that it never sent a woman to Congress, so maybe the representation isn't as decent as we think, right? Similarly, in Oklahoma, we might think that the representation isn't good enough. However, very recently it did elect a woman to serve 2 times as a governor. So this tells us that context is important in a nutshell. And that's my take on all of this. That's all I have for this presentation. Thank you for watching.